Caitlin Clark out for the remainder of the 2025 season, something we all think we knew was coming after what Stephanie White said earlier today. We couldn't be too sure until we see it for ourselves. And with this announcement from the GOAT's mouth herself, Caitlin Clark won't be returning this season.
Look, Caitlin Clark just pressed pause on her entire 2025 season, and the internet, it's gone completely bonkers, spiraling faster than a broken washing machine. One statement from her and fans are totally lost. They don't know whether to cry, start a riot, or maybe even cook up some wild conspiracy theories about Gatorade and astrology. This isn't just some casual headline you scroll past. This news grabs your brain, shakes it around, and basically screams for your full attention because let's be real, everything just changed.
Not surprising at this point, but still incredibly disappointing. Caitlin Clark officially done for the 2025 WNBA season, as she and the Fever announced on social media. The Fever and Clark saying that she tried to get back on the floor. It appears that she just ran out of time, not able to get enough confidence back in her body as the season wraps up and the playoffs are likely about to begin for Indiana. I mean, it's a gut punch that basically encompasses an entire season.
So here we are, facing the wild possibility that Caitlin Clark's basketball fairy tale might just be cut short way too soon. Remember, this is the player who turned every single arena into a sold-out spectacle, who somehow got even casual fans hooked on women's hoops. Now she's sidelined, looking like one of the biggest what-if stories we've seen in a long time. And we can't sugarcoat this. The whispers have already started. Is this truly it? Could one single injury really erase all the hype, all those records, the incredible ESPN highlight reels, and turn her into a total one-season wonder?
It's a statement saying this: I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way the fans continue to show up for me and for the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I am so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in.
Because let's be honest about the sports world. It has the memory of a goldfish. One minute you're the golden child of basketball, absolutely untouchable. The next, you're just a footnote, a name people mention in passing while they're arguing about the next big rookie in 2026. Caitlin Clark had this one spectacular season, right? It felt like the perfect launch pad to superstardom, but now she's got a medical chart that's got even the most optimistic fans out there starting to Google athletes who never quite recovered. It's brutal, because none of that cares about how many jerseys you sold or how many kids plastered your name on their bedroom wall.
Sports only cares if you can keep showing up.
Fever have lost so many players to injury, but obviously none bigger than Clark. And there was such a weight for this second season after her magnificent rookie season. And then, you know, the anticipation of her possibly coming back, only for that not to happen, takes a lot of air out of the room, obviously takes a lot of energy out of the fans, and is a devastating blow for not just the Fever and the WNBA. But the good news is her career is not over. But, you know, it's a tough blow when it all comes crashing down like that. And, you know, ever since Stephanie White's.
And right now, Caitlin Clark isn't showing up to the court. Instead, she's popping up in press conferences, delivering these super carefully worded statements. Honestly, they sound a little too much like damage control. The whole vibe is less, I'm coming back stronger than ever, and more like, please don't forget about me while I'm stuck in rehab purgatory.
All right, so now, I don't know who asked the question. The young lady, shout out to you. She said, hey, are you guys gonna make an announcement? Like that, like, I appreciate you at least. You didn't say it as blunt as I would have, but you said it. You asked the question. Hey, because now she's saying, yeah, you know, the plan on this West Coast trip was to evaluate. How you gonna evaluate her if she never had contact? What's the evaluation? She's been able to shoot jump shots. She's been able to run up and down the court by herself with nobody touching her. What was there to evaluate? Now you're pushing it through the weekend, leading us on, having us dangling in the air like...
Plus, you know the trolls are having an absolute field day with this. The same people who probably couldn't even spell her name a year ago are now suddenly orthopedic specialists. They're out there on the internet predicting she'll never dribble a ball again, practically turning her into the Greg Oden of women's basketball before she even gets her second paycheck. It's savage, but that's just the internet for you. If you don't perform, you become entertainment in a totally different way. Some players, they bounce back like they're made of rubber bands. Others, though, just crumble like a stale cookie. And the thing is, nobody really knows which side of that line Clark is gonna land on. We've all seen it. That one athlete we point to when we need to remind ourselves that hype doesn't always equal longevity. It's almost cruel how fast everything has changed. Think about it. Not that long ago, she was torching defenses, scoring points like she had a video game cheat code, and smiling her way through post-game interviews like she just solved basketball itself.
Well, there you have it, folks. My hot take from earlier this year, all of a sudden, not so hot. Caitlin Clark announced that she's going to be out for the rest of the season. Obviously, a nice little post here thanking her teammates, saying she fought back, was in the gym trying to come back. She wanted to, but Caitlin Clark not returning for the rest of the season. It makes sense considering where the Fever are at in the playoffs right now. Right now, they are making the playoffs. They're the 8th seed, so it would be the final seed there. But are they going to make much noise? Chloe Bibby just went out for the rest of the season. She was one of the...
Now, every update about her condition feels like a plotline from a soap opera. Will she ever return? Will she even be the same player she was? Has her confidence been shaken? It's like, tune in next week for the answers. Fans aren't watching highlights anymore. They're dissecting medical reports. And maybe that's easier than admitting they might have already seen her peak. The harsh reality is that some careers don't end with big farewell tours and standing ovations. Sometimes careers just... And for every comeback legend, there are a dozen athletes who just fade away, becoming nothing more than trivia questions. Nobody remembers them because, well, why would they? The media isn't really helping either. They're already churning out think pieces asking if Clark was overrated, if she was just a product of hype, or if this somehow proves women's basketball can't truly carry a superstar the way men's basketball can. It's absolutely exhausting, but that's just how this game works.
Caitlin Clark is out for the rest of the WNBA season. She had posted this whole statement on Instagram as well as the Fever officially announcing it just now here on this Thursday evening. And there have been some talks about from the Fever staff about her potentially trying to come back, and they had kind of been trying to drag this out as much as possible over the course of this season, but there simply seems to just not be enough time in this season for them to fully feel comfortable in getting her healthy. And the message that has been sent has always been the most important thing is her long-term health. That is what the Indiana Fever...
You see, you can't just be injured. You have to become a symbol of something bigger, something dramatic, something that looks good, splashed across a newsy chyron. So now her knee isn't just her knee, it's become the absolute centerpiece of a massive debate about the future of the entire sport. And let's not ignore the giant elephant in the room here. One season. That's all she got before it all came crashing down. One magical run, one incredible set of viral highlights, just one season as the chosen one. If that's her full resume, what are we actually supposed to make of it? Was it true greatness or just a really entertaining fling with destiny? History books aren't usually kind to short stories, they really prefer the sagas. Will she ever get back to form? Will this injury turn her into a shadow of her old self? Could this actually be the end of the Caitlin Clark era before it even truly began? These are the exact questions fans can't stop asking, mostly because the answers are vague enough to keep everyone completely hooked. But here's the really cruel twist. If she never comes back, her legend might actually grow even bigger. Think about it. Athletes who burn out early sometimes become mythologized. We remember what they could have been, not just what they actually were.
This young lady finally had the balls to ask somebody, hey, are you guys gonna make an announcement? You said you're having a meeting. You had your evaluation on the West Coast trip. Now you're gonna have a meeting. Are you guys gonna let the fans know what the hell is going on? Because y'all keep collecting ticket money. Y'all keep promoting that she's gonna be at this arena and that arena. Y'all keep saying that she's day-to-day. First, we heard she might be back for the Minnesota Lynx the first time we played them a week ago. She wasn't even ready for that. A miraculous ankle injury popped up.
Caitlin Clark could honestly become basketball's ultimate lost potential story, forever frozen in time as this unstoppable force who never got a sequel. And that, in a weird way, might even make her bigger than if she had played another 10 seasons and just been very good. It's totally twisted logic, but sports fans, they love their tragedies almost as much as they love their champions. So here's where we stand. Caitlin Clark, who was once this unstoppable storm, is now the world's most fascinating question mark. Her injury could be just a tiny blip in what will eventually be a long and dominant career, or it could be the very line that closes the book forever. Nobody truly knows for sure, but what we do know is that the entire world is watching, obsessing, speculating, and yeah, secretly enjoying all this chaos. And the juiciest headline of them all: what if she never recovered? That's not just speculation, it's the nightmare scenario people can't stop whispering about in group chats and sports bars. Just picture it. A player with this meteoric rise, branded as the savior of women's basketball, suddenly becoming the most high-profile what could have been of the entire decade. The sheer irony of it all is enough to make even casual fans roll their eyes at the basketball god. It really feels like someone gave the world this incredible gift and then just snatched it back before anyone could truly enjoy it.
Well, here we are. The next morning after it was announced that Caitlin Clark would not be returning this season. Something that I think most of us pretty much knew for maybe at least the last couple of weeks. I heavily suspected it for the last, if I'm being real, last month. Although I kept kind of holding out hope because, well, I wanted a reason to keep watching these games. And that's why the Indiana...
1 minute, she's the headline. The next, she's the cautionary tale your coach brings up during practice when warning everyone about overexposure. And let's not pretend the media isn't absolutely drooling over this angle. They love building stars just so they can tear them down again. Caitlin Clark was the golden goose, remember? She boosted ratings, she sold jerseys, she created viral moments left and right, but now, the narrative has totally shifted to clickbait speculation. Suddenly, every single talking head is debating whether her career is already finished, way beyond just rehab timelines. This is about drama, fear, and the potential collapse of an empire before it even had a chance to truly expand. It's brutal, but it's also incredibly fascinating, because here's the thing about sports fans. Deep down, they secretly live for this stuff. They won't admit it, but watching a star struggle is its own kind of entertainment. Could this injury actually end her career? On paper, absolutely, it's possible. Plenty of athletes have been completely derailed before they even got rolling. Bodies aren't invincible, no matter how many hours you spend in the gym or how many protein shakes you drink. Some injuries just don't heal the way you want them to. And if Clark's body betrays her, then all that incredible hype just gets stuffed into a dusty trophy case labeled unrealized potential.
And to the disappointment to a lot of people, she will not play for the rest of the season. Now, what does this mean for her? Rest. Big time rest. Get healthy. That's the number one thing. When you miss a full season, it's tough to come back and not be rusty. So I think a lot of the off season is going to be spent rehabbing her legs, getting stronger, and just working towards getting back to 2026 so that she can be healthy and take on the full season.
The scary part is, her margin for error is absolutely microscopic. She doesn't have a 10-year track record to fall back on, you know? No multiple championships, no MVPs, no highlight reel stretching across an entire decade. She has one season, that's it. One glorious, completely unstoppable season where she looked untouchable. If she can't build on that, her entire career might just get reduced to a highlight montage on YouTube titled Caitlin Clark's Best Plays Before the Injury. And let's be honest, nobody wants to be a playlist instead of a legacy. This is where the debate gets really spicy. Some fans will argue that even if she never steps back on the court, her impact is already legendary. But right now, Caitlyn's resume is still under construction, and the builders just went on strike. What makes it even worse is how incredibly fast the sports machine moves on. While Clark is stuck in rehab, the league isn't hitting pause. New players will emerge, new stars will rise, and by the time she's ready, if she's ever ready, the spotlight might have already totally shifted. Sports doesn't wait for anyone, not even its brightest star. The clock just doesn't stop ticking because one player is stuck in the trainer's room.
Like a conversation and a agreement that would have happened between the Fever organization and I assume Kathy Engelbert and the WNBA. We don't want to mess these ratings up now. We don't want to mess those ratings up now, do we? Let's make it look like she's going to come back. So I knew there was going to be a lot of reaction today and last night, overnight. And Amber Cox, the CEO and general manager for the Fever, has released a statement on Twitter X, and it has gotten quite the response from Caitlin Clark fans.
And honestly, that's probably the cruelest part of all. She could completely heal, she could return, and she might still find herself somehow forgotten. The mental game is probably even tougher than the physical recovery. Just imagine being used to dominating every single night, then suddenly having to watch from the sidelines as other players steal your thunder. It really eats at you, you know? It makes you question absolutely everything. Will I ever be the same? Do people even care about me anymore? And worst of all, was my peak already behind me? Those questions just creep into your head when the lights dim and they're louder than any crowd could ever be. And then there's the pressure. Ooh, the pressure. Imagine being told you're the face of the league, the savior of the sport, the one who's gonna carry everything into the future. Then imagine blowing out your knee, or whatever this injury might be, and realizing that future might not even include you. That's not just physical rehab. That's a complete mental demolition, and yet somehow everyone still expects you to smile through it all, release these perfectly positive statements, and act like your entire world isn't totally falling apart. The performance never stops, even when the game itself does.
The WNBA ratings' worst nightmare just came true because it was just announced that Caitlin Clark will be out for the rest of the season. She's only played 13 games this season, and her most recent injury, which happened back in July, was a groin injury. The craziest part about all of this has been the reporting around her injury. The team has never given her a timetable for return, and literally up until today, the team had been reporting that she was still trying to get back on the court this season. The Fever only have 3 regular season games left in the season before playoffs. Some fans were even speculating that they've just been stringing fans along the whole time because they know that ratings and attendance would.
What's wild is how this one single injury could completely redefine her entire narrative. If she recovers and just dominates again, she's not just a star, she's a legend. She's the comeback kid, the one who stared down adversity and totally won. But if she doesn't, then she becomes this tragic figure. The player who had it all and then lost it before she even really had a chance to cash in. Either way, her name is going to be etched in history. It's just a question of whether it's under the heroes column or the tragedies one. And let's not pretend this doesn't have massive ripple effects. Sponsors, broadcasters, even the league itself, they all built their big marketing campaigns around her. It's relatable in a twisted kind of way. We've all felt like something incredible was snatched from us way too soon. And in that sense, Clark's story might actually echo louder than if she had just gone on to have a long, normal, successful career. So yes, it is entirely possible this is the end. It's possible Caitlin Clark's career is already over before it truly began. It's possible that we'll look back at her one shining season and think, that was it. It's a harsh reality, but it's also exactly the kind of reality that sports specializes in.
For those that don't know, Caitlin Clark recently put out a statement basically saying that she is out for the remainder of the season. Sad news for the basketball world. Avid WNBA fans know that Caitlin Clark has been sidelined for weeks, actually months, due to her groin injury. Has been putting a lot of work in, rehabbing, trying to get back onto the court. And some people had high hopes that she would make it back in time for the playoffs because right now the Fever sit at the 8th spot Not sure if they'll be able to keep the 8th spot and get into the playoffs, but a lot of people had high hopes that she would make it back in time for the playoffs. I'm personally glad that the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark decided to just rest her for the rest of the season and just shut it down.
1 minute you're practically immortal, the next you're incredibly fragile, and the cruel beauty of it all is that nobody really knows how the story ends, least of all the person who's actually living it. So now we're at the million-dollar question: is this truly the end, or is it just the most dramatic halftime break in sports history? Caitlin Clark isn't just sitting out a few games, she's dangling her entire future in front of us like some kind of basketball soap opera cliffhanger. Because either Clark stages the greatest comeback since sliced bread hit grocery shelves, or she just fades into the background as the most famous one-hit wonder basketball has ever seen. By the time she's ready to lace up again, if she's ever ready, the spotlight might have already found a new favorite. That's the cruel reality, but it's also the hook that keeps everyone glued to her story. Because whether this ends up being the rise, the fall, or the tragic epilogue, Caitlin Clark has already done something most athletes never achieve. She's made herself impossible to ignore. The real question isn't just whether she plays again. The real question is, what version of Caitlin Clark are we going to get if she does? A comeback queen, or the ghost of a career that ended before it truly began? Either way, the world won't stop watching.